So sorry, I'm going back to my screen there. So as a, can you guys, do you guys see this pop up here on my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm actually in as a student right here. So this student, when they're in this class, when they enter, they have a class. So this is like Mr. Olson's 7-6 class. This is what they see once they log in. It's a whole library of anything I've assigned to them. And they get this great little pink banner that shows that they didn't answer any questions yet. Now I just I kind of made a sample student over here. So all these assignments they haven't completed yet, but I've always found success in my class by basically just going to Google Classroom. And when I want to make an assignment in my Google Classroom, I will just give them the link activelylearn.com. I don't assign directly from Actively Learn because activelylearn.com will take them to the home screen. And then once they click on that link, it will take them to this home screen. And then in my Google Classroom, I will say, hey guys, I'd like you to complete the assignment. These habits can help you fall asleep. Or where the wild things are, nature responds to the pandemic. And I'll put that directly in the instructions. And then when they go in, all they have to do is click, and then they're in Actively Learn. They're able to see those questions. They can start going through them. And it's pretty fail-proof, because at that point, Actively Learn, it's just going to take them to the main site. And as long as you've given them your classroom code, they only need that once. Once they're in, it'll always take them to that home screen. So then in the instructions, you just tell them which assignment they have to make. I've never had an issue with a student not being able to find it, because it's basically, here's the title. When you go right from Actively Learn and try to share, I just think that there's some kind of interference that can occur where the kids get confused because they think it's going to take them right to the article. And if it kicks them back to the home screen, they don't know what the article actually is. Does that kind of...
Would you like me to show you how I do it?
Please. So Sherry, so Barb and Nikki and Patty that just joined too. Sherry's just started using Actively Learn this year. So Sherry, please, by all means, feel free to just mention your experience with it, and if you want to present on your screen kind of how you're loving it and how you're using it, that'd be great.
Okay, can you see my screen right now? No.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I do for each assignment is...
We can't see your screen.
Okay.
So,
because I haven't shared it yet. I have to, I'm sorry, I'm going to find it.
John, by the way, I have class hours right now, so if I jump out, it's because somebody jumped into my... They never do, but just in case.
That's totally cool, Barb. We're recording this too, so what we're going to do in that document that had all the things signed up, I'll replace the sign up with this video when it's done. I'm going to probably edit it a little bit so that I'll put questions at the end of it, and then just sort of the walkthrough of how to do this, how to sign up. And again, if anyone sticks around, if you want to try to sign up today and log in and do all that stuff, I can be here so that if you have questions while you're doing it, we can kind of work through that.
Okay, thanks.
I'm trying to figure out why. Okay, so what I do is, and I'm going to share it now. Can you see my screen now, the screen?
Yeah, we can share it.
So I create a unit overview. I tell them what this unit's going to be about, and just give them some basic directions. Then I create a hyperdoc. So I'll tell them, here's what we're going to cover, and I say, please go directly to Actively Learn to complete article assignments.
Sherry, can you click on your document?
Yeah, you're showing all of us.
We look great. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
What am I doing wrong?
Click on your tab at the top of the screen that you want us to see.
I am clicking on it. It's on another window.
Sherry, yeah, I think you're in. There you go. Perfect.
Okay, so if I have things in here, I tell them complete the following Actively Learn assignments. I tell them what the title of the article is. It's an article with questions. So I have them also in Actively Learn. I have redlining in Suburbia. I tell them it's a video quiz. This one I put the link in Google Classroom, and it worked fine for all of them. So, but that's a hit or miss, so I won't do that again.
Yeah, and again, that's the only reason why I would just suggest just direct them to Actively Learn, because the fact that it's hit or miss, that's annoying enough that you don't want to have to, field those emails. But once kids are in, just saying, like, I like how you had that, Sherry, just go to Actively Learn. Once they're in, if they're logged into your class through Actively Learn, and I can show Patty and Nikki and Barb what that looks like. It's basically like a Google Classroom code that once they're in, they have a section that'll be called, Mrs. Schober's class, Mrs. Ruggiero's class, and they'll see all the work there. So as long as you direct them to that assignment, you're good to go.
And I'll tell you, I can't remember the last time I found a platform that asked Jonathan. I keep telling him it's my new BFF. It takes every single thing we do and wraps it up into one place. From choosing Lexiles, it translates text to speech. It'll, for Spanish, French, and German. It has video quizzes, articles, and everything's vetted by Stanford University. This site is amazing.
Yeah, so I mean, when I started sharing this was something when I was at the Keystone Tech Integrators Conference in 2017. This was like one of my big tools that I was bringing to the table, and I feel like it was Science Social Studies LA, and it was mostly geared toward high school. They were the ones that were like, this is what we need at this kind of level. So I'd love to just show you the quick kind of tour of it. Nikki, what's up?
I was going to say Renee loves it. That's why I wanted to learn this today, because Renee uses it for French all the time, and she raves about it.
That's awesome. So if it's cool with you guys, and I'll just give you like a real quick, just like demo of here's what Actively Learn looks like, just so that you can kind of get an idea of what are the features of it that make it so great. And then please feel free to unmute yourselves. There's only a couple of us in here, and you can ask any questions, or if you want to contribute any comments too about like how if you're using it. Obviously, Lisa and Sherry there. So this is if I just go to like kind of the homepage here. Of the content. Actively Learn's currently free right now for the rest of the year for the premium, but I will tell you this, the free version, I never paid for the full version since I've been using it since like 2017. So don't feel like just because the premium version is going away in July that this would not be something that you would want to use in the fall for sure. So just to show you, the thing I love about this, first of all, you can search by grade levels. So we've got 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, all the way up to 11th, 12th. You've got Lexile levels up top here. You've got standards. You've got curriculum units. So you can just go by, and right now I am living in LA, but if you go to the top here, you can see science and social studies is also an option. I love that you can search by genre and theme. So again, I'm living in LA right now, but just to show you some of the genres that there are here, you've got classics, you've got fiction, drama, fairy tales, historical fiction, poetry, sci-fi, dystopia. There's text sets, there's videos, speeches, social emotional learning. So there's the same thing you can search in all of those categories, as well as by theme, which I love as well. So anyway, there's a wealth of info here and a library that you can kind of choose from. And then this is really the neat part about Actively Learn is that if you use Edpuzzle, this is basically Edpuzzle that's also built into documents that require reading for kids. So if we go to something like, let's just pick this one, living through the pandemic, since we're all living through the pandemic right now. So right now I'm in a teacher view of this assignment, and you can see it's already got built-in questions, built-in polls, lessons, things like that. And the cool thing is that Actively Learn kind of personalizes its information for you. So this is like a teacher note that they added, but they put my name here, which makes it really nice. That way the kids are like, oh, Mr. Olshan wants to tell me that I can determine the meaning of marginalized by using context clues in the sentence. So it kind of automatically puts your name in, but you can add your own notes as well. So if I would want to, I could just put here, emotional health. If I highlight that word emotional health, Actively Learn lets me add a question right here, insert a note, insert a link, something like that. So if I want to insert a note, I can say like, hey guys, emotional health is important.
It's cool. If you have a student with an IEP where it requires that you have to give them teacher's notes, you can separately print just the teacher's notes for the students.
Yeah, that's a great tip there too. So, I mean, the fact that you can kind of personalize this, and if I didn't like this note that they gave us here, I could delete it. But it's also saying to the kids like, hey, here's some extra help. I can maybe just say, hey, here's a link I want you to follow, et cetera, et cetera. So you can embed multiple choice questions. And they are going to grade automatically. They're kind of like a Google form. This is a question that's already built into the article, which is awesome. But if I didn't like it, I could go into it and I could edit it, or I could delete it, or I could move it. It already syncs up with certain standards so that kids can see what kind of standard-based question this is. Here's a poll which that generates in real time. So as kids click on that, you'll see kind of like a graph start to appear.
Jonathan, go ahead and pin one of the questions. So if you want a student to read and the student's not sure where the answer is in the article, if you pin it, the question travels along through the article as they read it.
You see how that's kind of moving there?
Which is then that the students have back and forth.
Yeah, and something else that I love, and I'm just going to switch over to kind of a student view here. So this is, you guys should see on my screen there. So this is a student view of this article. The thing I love about Actively Learn too is that, and my kids always raved about this, that typically they read an article and then they get to the bottom and they have to answer 5 questions. Actively Learn forces them, as you see here, they can't keep scrolling. And if you look in the bottom right-hand corner of my screen, it says they're 22% through the article. But this question, this poll question, it's forcing them to answer this question before they continue the article. So they can't just like scroll to the bottom and attempt to click, click, click. Okay, I got zeros on all of those. I've completed my online distant learning project. They do have to click here. They'll hit submit. They get class results for the poll, and now they can keep reading the article as they go through. So again, here's some notes on the side. Just another really cool feature. If I'm a student and I'm trying to read through this and I get to the word pristine and I don't know what that is, they double click it and they have options to highlight and take notes. They can hear the word
pristine
get pronounced. They also have the option to have it defined, and you can see right there, they can hear the pronunciation. Actually takes them to a new window there if they want to do that, but they get the definition. And it links right to Webster's dictionary, which is pretty cool. If kids also get totally stumped, they have the option to highlight something. And if they take notes, and I think it's not here yet because I didn't assign it, but I'm going to switch back over to this screen real quick. But kids also have the option to post a little note that says, like, ask the teacher a question. And you'll get a little flag when you're grading that just says, oh, this student was confused over here as well, and they might need a little bit of support.
It also prompts them to answer a question. So in addition to the article, if you go to where that, I think it's where the 2 people are to the upper left there near the double font size, you can send a copy to your colleagues, but there's also, maybe it's to the right of that, but anyway, it'll prompt you that kids are making comments about their reading. So one kid actually gave me a very concerning comment in there, and I was able to address it and call home, make sure he was okay. But it was neat because you're getting their thinking as well. Like, it'll pop that up.
Yeah, so I'm going to see.
Go back just for a second to the choices. There's a my import, and to tell you the truth, for the science teachers, it's not as heavy in terms of content. But I can bring in any and all science articles, which I think is where this is really a gift. That
Lisa, can you show this on your screen, Lisa? Because this is probably the coolest feature of the premium version. And that is one thing I just want to put that out there. Like, as an LA teacher, there's so much content all day. Science teachers, I have a couple of middle school science teachers that I know are using this, where there's occasionally articles they like, but the premium version does give you the ability to take docs, PDF, like all that kind of stuff, and you can upload your own content and then insert those questions and things like that, which that's huge right now. So Lisa, could you just demo that real quick, because that's a huge feature right there.
I put in a Google slide, and you can put in anything from Google Drive. It's amazing.
I didn't know you could put Google Slides in. That's awesome.
Well, I think I should check and see if it works first before I say that. But I think it did. I hope it does.
Okay, so are you seeing my screen now?
Yep.
So if you look at, you have my workspace, curriculum units, topics, and you go all the way over, and it says my imports. I can actually bring up any articles that are already on my computer that I would have the kids read, and I can bring those in, which is really awesome.
Yeah, can you show
that? This is an actual how to identify trees article I brought in, and it allows for me to actually share that out with the kids. and it's really cool that way.
And you can still add the questions and things like you can add all of the features that are in there as well.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
Lisa, you said that you can do that with the premium version. Do we have that access now? It's all free?
Yeah, well, I only started this since virtual learning, and I was able to get right into the premium learning, and we have it till July.
Yeah.
And once it's in there, what I'm wondering is if enough, because the English teachers love this, I'm wondering if this could be one of the platforms that Warwick does say, hey, we're going to do this at least for the high school.
Yes. So just so you guys know, so just actually 3 quick points on that. So first of all, Nikki, if you don't have an account, the first time you create the account, it'll say like, hey, because of COVID-19, we are giving you the full premium kind of deal. So yes, for the rest of the year, without a doubt, you're going to have premium. I already had an account, and when I signed in April, it just said we've converted you to a premium account. So if you already have an account, it'll turn premium. If you don't have one, it'll be premium. To Lisa's point, as far as that goes, I'd be curious to see if Warwick would ever go for like a full package for the school, but I will just throw this out. The free version is incredible, but if you absolutely love the ability to upload your own stuff, there is an Actively Learn Ambassador program. And I believe that if you sign up to be an Actively Learn Ambassador, which requires like not too much on your end, they will give you a free premium version. I know I did it for a year just because I was interested in getting it, and I think I maybe did it in service at Warwick once, and I filled out a couple things, and they gave me a free. It's normally like $100-something bucks. So yeah, Nikki.
So I love gadgets and I love learning all this new stuff, and I get heartbroken when it goes away.
Sure.
Or the stuff I worked so hard on is no longer available. I really liked Padlet, and then I found out I couldn't keep using it. Right. Is this something that if I invest some time in it, I'll be able to reuse it when I come back to school and can use it next year, this time of year, if I wanted to?
So the only thing that I would preface with that is that if you are pretty confident that you're going to be using this to upload your own docs to turn into things, I would say that might disappear unless you are getting the premium version. I will tell you that I never uploaded my own docs because there was such a treasure trove of resources that I used in just the LA area. I used Actively Learn free version only for 3 years, and I would reuse articles from different years, and I never lost any of my material. Every time, like even with the free version, if I would take an article and make my own questions and I would modify certain things, they don't disappear at the end of the year. I can always reuse those. And if anything, they just continue to add to that library. So that's what I would preface with that with, for everything that Lisa imported, that will probably disappear next year unless she continues to use the premium version. So that's what I would say. Yeah.
And that can easily be made an item in our department budget, right? As I would request anything else, I can request my premium.
I mean, there's other programs that I know that I've used over the course of the year that I just like, Classcraft was one that I absolutely loved. And I was just like, I'm willing to, even if this is the bulk of my budget, I think that was like $96. I was like, that premium version was worth it for me. So, but again, like this is one of the few tools that I would say, and I don't know if at some point the company's going to realize like maybe we should make it like not so good free version, but I used the free version for like literally 3 years and never even thought like, I don't think I need the premium version. I don't think it's worth it because the free version's so good. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's great to have the premium, but I think you can get away with the free if you're not.
Can I just share real quick? So the science department really decided we loved Edpuzzle. So as a department, we got a site license for the Edpuzzle. And I think you could do that through your department as well, just say a site license for because I know the English teachers may do that. And then again, foreign language, that would make a lot of sense.
I mean, honestly, I love this tool so much that I would advocate for it to say that, I mean, I really think there's use for it in science, social studies, LA, foreign language, and that covers a lot of us at Warwick. So I certainly would push for that. I know when Newsela or Newsela or whatever it's called came out, I was okay with it, but I was always like, ooh, I really love Actively Learn. I just feel like it's got a few more perks to it that work well for really interactive learning for kids online.
Jonathan, would you be able to find out how much a site license or a department license would be?
Yeah, I've honestly been in contact with Actively Learn for the last couple of years too. So I mean, I would have no issue even reaching out and just, kind of saying, hey, I'm getting a lot of teachers that are generating some interest. What can you guys do for us if we, well, hope, fingers crossed that we go back in the fall. But I got to tell you too, if for some reason we're not back in the fall too, I mean, I would lean on this heavily if I was, still just an LA teacher at this point. I would be using this all the time. And again, Sherry mentioned how much she's using it right now and how well it works. But, we didn't even show you guys that there is basically like a built-in ed puzzle in Actively Learn as well. There's a huge video library. You can insert your own questions just like you would with ed puzzle, but then you also get the text as well. And obviously we want the kids reading as much as possible too during this time. But the one thing that I'd love to demo, but it's kind of hard to do without real students here. But this is something too that even if we're not distance learning, I would do this in class, and it's very effective in class too, because, and especially if you have kids working on throughout the week, because kids are kind of pinging you and saying like, hey, I need some help on this one or this one, and you kind of respond to them in real time. If you would do this as like a 40-minute lesson plan, where even though everyone's on their device, there's a ton of like communication occurring. It's not static at all. Like you're constant. The kids are interacting with each other. You're interacting with them. But it also works in like a week-long process where if a kid has a question or they're working on something, you can still give them feedback during the week, and it gives them the opportunity to still go back and revise it. And again, it's really less work too for the teacher because everything's grading automatically except for the short answer paragraph kind of responses. But I really like the grading system, and Sherry put together this awesome document that I think I posted in the kind of the description of this Actively Learn bit, where students, and I'll show you on my screen real quick just so you can see it for anyone that wants to do like a written component. But when you have let's go over here.
And there's something that I would add to that now that I've been through it that would help students know what they are able to do. There's just so much available to them. I mean, you can individually assign extra help instructions for students with IEPs who need it. I haven't found too much that it won't do. And to follow up, you can download Google Slides as a PDF, not as an active slide.
Oh, I see. That's great. Yeah, so just to show you guys over here, just the way it looks for grading. So this was just, question 6 here at the end of the narrative poem Highwayman. In essence, this poem's a ghost story. Why do you think people tell ghost stories? How is one supposed to make readers feel? If I'm searching by this question, I can go through my students, and you see them on the right side of the screen. And this is all their responses. And if I want, I can click on the Students tab. I can see who I've graded, who hasn't answered the question. I can jump around to different questions. But for a response like this, I would typically write something like respond in 4 to 5 sentences, maybe provide a piece of evidence from the text. But this is how you would grade short answer or paragraph type of responses here. You're either going to give the student an advanced, a proficient, a basic, an incomplete, or a 0. So multiple choice questions, they're point-based, but at the end of this, what I would often tell kids is that any short answer or paragraph question, if you get a proficient or an advanced, maybe you earn 2 points on it. If you get a basic, kids, there's a button here that says allow revision. And if I give a kid a basic or an incomplete, they're able to go back in and still correct their answer. And that's something I really like when you're using Actively Learn, because it's kind of gives the kids the option like that they shouldn't fail unless they are choosing to like not go back and complete the work. And especially as an LA teacher, it was that, hey, I want to see complete sentences. I want at least, one piece of evidence from the text. And if I gave them a basic, I could even write there, hey, read the directions again. You forgot to put a piece of evidence. You can still get all those points back if you go back and make that revision. And that would give kids an opportunity to do that. And if you're doing that in real time in the class, the kids kind of like on their cell phone, they get the little notification. They'll be like, ping, your teacher just said, hey, you missed something. So they'll go, oops, and they go back and they have that chance to correct it. So, when you're doing distance learning, I don't know how much you'll have the opportunity to be like, hey, revise this. And then if you knew as the teacher, I'm going to check this at the end of the week. Maybe you kind of like pop in during the week to see if kids were doing it at all. But it really gives the opportunity for like real-time feedback and the chance for kids to make revisions. So that's
Jonathan, do you want me to show them a current grade
Yes. Can Nikki, Nikki's going to ask a question, though. If you could share that, that'd be awesome.
I just have a question about the rubric, the advanced basic. Did you insert any sort of rubric, or that came with it?
No. So the advanced basic, yeah. So Sherry actually came up with a pretty cool one. She'll share that with us here. But that advanced basic incomplete, that's standard with any short answer question that you post in Actively Learn. And then the multiple choice, it's worth 1 point essentially, and it's basically like a Google form. You'll have the questions and just say which one's the correct answer here, and you can make 2 answers be correct. You can have 3 answers be correct, or like check which ones are correct kind of deal, and they grade automatically.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hang on, so I'm bringing up the window and I'll show you my rubric. And you can obviously.
Yeah, it's totally customizable. I mean, the way Sherry's doing it, you don't have to do this, but I actually really like the fact that she kind of gives this to the kids right when she assigns, hey guys, we're going to use this platform called Actively Learn. This is what you, and like, yeah, this whole, like, I would say feel free to steal this from her. I already stole it from her. It's awesome. She's willing to let us steal from her. So this is honestly a really nice, if you haven't done it, give this to the kids the first time you do Actively Learn. But yeah, you can go through that, Sherry. And
okay, so this is for my honors history class. So I told them, okay, I'm looking for you to think. So I gave them a little intro, but I told them some of the things that it could do for them, and up here, and then I kind of took what Actively Learn gave as the grading rubric, and I adapted it to what I want. So again, I'm happy to share that with whoever wants it. And then I'll show you a class. And you can sign in with Google Classroom, so it just makes it really easy for everybody.
And I'll tell you what, Sherry, that document, if it's cool with you, and I'll credit it to you, but I'll put a link that you guys can just click on the link and make a copy underneath the video in that one document. That way anyone else that's WSD can go there and click on that and take that. But
that's perfect. So I want to, you know what, I have to make this full screen so I can see it. Here are my classes on the left. So I have History 2. And here's one of the things that I love. You can go into the reading settings, set the Lexiles, you can set up small groups. Here in the grading settings, you can change it to whatever you want or create your own. So if you want to use traditional grades, number grades, or any of these, I've just kind of stuck with the Advanced Proficient Basic. You can tag students. So if in a student's answer, I can hit a tag that says missing evidence. I can change the scores for things here. That's just a beautiful feature.
Sherry, I'm not going to lie. I've never messed with those grading systems to actually be able to adjust that an advanced could be worth like 10 points, proficiency 8 or 7. I didn't even know you could do that. That's awesome.
I told you when I said I love this site. You can set up small groups, is amazing, and you can have a co-teacher in on this.
Yep. So
let's look at my history. Let's look at History 6. So here's my roster. It's it says when they signed in, when they joined. If I want my students to have an extra help section, let's say they have an IEP that says they need additional directions or they need something chunked, I can put it right in the article and click this and it will just show for that one student. Here are the assignments. This is the window. So my students, when they go to Actively Learn, they'll click on their class and they'll go in to one of their assignments, whatever one I told them in that hyperdoc. And these are the video quizzes. And here are the questions. And then it grades it. Boom. So it's showing this student didn't do it, this student didn't finish it. It's done for you. It has a grade book, which is really cool. The green shows advanced, the yellow is proficient, the red is basic or below basic. So it really lets you track the students, what they're doing. And if you really want to get into it, it gives you student data and what the student needs. They're reading the article too fast. I didn't get into too much of this because I'm finding that this online learning is taking more time than classroom learning. And then your entire class. And this is something that's reflective. You can self-reflect, you know, maybe I'm not teaching this enough. Maybe I need to rephrase the question. So if I go into my sixth grade.
Sherry, I'm sorry, can you stay on that screen for 1 sec? I just wanted to say one thing about this screen. So this is another feature of premium. As far as, you know, if we're data driven and we're looking at some of this stuff, this is a good push for why we should get premium, but you do get this breakdown with premium. You won't see this same thing when you are in the free version. But I really like the way that this kind of breaks down your standards. And one other cool feature here, and Nikki, Barb and Patty will probably appreciate this too. Actually, everybody should, because we all have vocabulary in all of our classes. But if you go to student, actually, just go to the very top, Sherry, of that screen. Click on the vocabulary button. So what that is, that shows you every student, because remember, kids can double click on a word and hit define. This actually makes a class vocab list for every article. So you can see how many kids, like you can see there the word inevitable, 2 kids clicked on that because they weren't sure what inevitable meant. So if you have a really vocab heavy article, I love this. This basically generates a class vocab list so that you can see if 10 kids didn't know that word. Well, you better believe the next lesson I have, I'm going to be like, hey guys, I saw 10 people had to like have that word defined. Let's go through that and add that to like almost like our word wall type of deal. So it's really cool the way it sort of tracks just kids in their own, like, what does this word mean sort of deal. So
this has next year's SLO and PLO written all over it.
Yeah, it's good stuff for sure.
Agreed. So I assigned, let's say this Cold War. This red number is telling me, I have 7 revision requests. I go in and I realize that those are students who've handed it in late. So this definitely lets you know what's going on. And again, the green means they answered in advanced or proficient advanced. And the system actually learns how you grade. So even on short answer essays, it will start recommending where the student should fall. Right now it's about 50-50. So, but it also shows how many students use text-to-speech. Excuse me, how many students translated, how many vocab words were looked up, and which students took notes. And here it shows time on task.
That's a big one, yeah.
10 minutes versus 44 minutes?
Yep.
Okay.
An hour.
So, but what I wanted to show you was, I'm going to go in and let's say I want to do.
Sherry, can you go back? Can you go back to where you were just for a second?
Sure.
If you go back to that assignment you had.
Yes.
And you look up to the left, you had a kid, look where your bell, that bell is what I was looking for before. That's where kids are specifically saying something to you.
Right.
You can actually get feedback from your kids, and that is really cool. Some of the responses get really interesting.
Yeah, and kids.
Liam and I were having a conversation. Jack just turned these in late, so I know I need to go back in and
it's also got a really cool social media feel under certain questions because kids can actually like each other's comments, and like if you know kids like there's sort of an area that you can say like discuss below. And I'm always, you know, pleasantly surprised that kids might be like, well, does anyone think that blah, blah, blah? And then, you know, kids will like upvote each other's comments, which pretty much, you know, it's very, very social media blog kind of style in that regard. But I think kids feel like they can still communicate with each other as well. And it never feels unfair to me that, you know, it's like, oh, you got this wrong, you're dead in the water. It's like, no, this is like really like, we want you to learn this content here. So it's always that opportunity of like help each other out. And like if a kid has a question, you know, another student might be able to answer that question so that they can better respond to something else in the article. So.
Right. So I'll just show you. So this is what they provide us with. So I want to do my instructions. And the first thing I do, so I know that it's mine, is I just take it and I make it bold. If I don't like what they say, I can get rid of it. If I want to add a video to this, I just go to YouTube. Let's see. I find a video. This is how quick this is. Share.
Hey man,
copy. I come back here, add media, boom. Oh, he doesn't like his stuff shared on here, so I'm learning. All right.
And yeah, and that was, you know, that's one random one like that, but that typically will, it's typically that easy just to grab the link and post right there.
Okay, so I'll grab John Green. He's always good.
Can't go wrong with Green.
Definitely. My kids believe everything John Green says. So.
He's a really neat guy. So, okay, so I'm going to put, and then boom, that's it. It's that quick. Here's where if you have a student with an IEP, you can change it. You can go up here if you want to print the notes, the questions, or the vocab, or print the entire article. You can do that. You can change authoring. And Lisa, you said this is where you can share it.
And share with other faculty. So if you're teaching the same course with somebody, which I don't pretty much ever, but if you are teaching with other faculty, it's easily shared. So you can take like a week, one person does it, the other week. And this for Barb and Patty, and that might be a great thing for you guys.
I can add a pre-reading question, and I can, let's say I want Afghanistan. I can insert a note, and I can find a map of Afghanistan over here. I can add an image or a URL. I can take a look at where Afghanistan is in the world. It's really, it's absolutely pretty amazing what this allows you to do.
And it's really user friendly. Like, it's one of those that, you know, when you play around with it for even just like your first day, you're going to start to go, oh, wow, I just have, like, I mean, you basically highlight where you want, and it'll say to you, what do you want to put here? It's a very intuitive interface there. And again, the nice thing I would say is that the library is so extensive that oftentimes I'll go through, you know, some of the articles they have, and I'm like, I want to add some stuff. I'm like, man, they've really covered a lot of what I want them to cover. I don't need to add a lot to it. So a lot of these articles and videos, they're pretty much built in fairly well, you know.
Can I ask about the library feature? If you want kids to do comparisons of opposing viewpoints, does it sort for you when you research articles? Does it have any sort of sort feature in the library?
Are you talking about that student library that you're seeing on the share screen?
Well, so if I'm choosing things from this website, what they already have, is there any way to sort through it by theme or opposing theme or?
Well, so far I'm going to say I don't know, Nikki. So far I've only just started putting mine into folders. The student library is huge, but so let's say I'm going to create a lesson on epidemics and pandemics for our last global social problems class. And I'll probably go through here. I mean, there are entire textbooks, or not textbooks, like books that students can read here, that you can link that are amazing. So I'm going to go into news and articles, and you know, like I'll just grab this, and once I customize it, you know, it becomes mine and it goes into my library, and then I'll categorize it. But as far as the student library, I have not done anything with it, Nikki.
Sherry, can I present my screen real quick? Because I'll show you. I'll show you the student library view, and this is actually a really cool feature too. So it's what this is, Nikki, is it's basically, this was almost like, okay, guys, if we finish the article or the assignment that you know, I've assigned to you, when students go to library, so I'm in a student view right here, this is what they see. This is basically, they have a reading log here that's an independent reading log, and then they have, basically they can assign themselves things through this catalog. So they can go through this catalog and say, okay, I want some 9th grade texts, and you know, here we have, you know, Wells's Invisible Man. They can pull out, okay, they want to find out about the Oscars. They're going to click on this. They can either say close or read it now. If they hit read it now, it adds it to their library. And again, it's sort of, it still has the questions. It still has all of these things built into it. But now when we go back to their library, they've got their own info here, and they can actually share this with other students in the class. They can review it very like Goodreads style, where they can give it certain stars and say, oh, I read this, I liked it. But they can just search in here for whatever they want as well. And this is really, they can go by their Lexile, they can go by topic, page count, etc. But that's basically what the library is it's their own reading library. So, you know, you could have them, you could assign an article and then say, search the library for an opposing viewpoint type of article. And then, you know, kids can just kind of go to town and find their own stuff there.
Okay.
Just so you know, too, is once you find an article or something you like, you can click assign, and when it asks you to assign it to the classes in Google Classroom, just don't do it. But it will then just add to your library. So when you tell students, go to the library, like you can assign it to those classes, and then it will go, when they click on their class, it will be in their class library.
Oh, nice.
I haven't looked at it from a student view though yet to see if the library, if I can categorize their library into Cold War and different things yet. I don't know that.
That's a good question. I know that you can add labels, and I know students can add their own labels, so they can like tag an article like I'm trying to think how they would do that. Like they could one feature of Actively Learn is that they can do research projects on it. So they might pull 5 articles, and then there's a way to generate a doc directly in Actively Learn. So they could use labels to say like, you know, this article is from like this is research project article, and they could tag a bunch of content in their library as research. So that's something that students have their own personalization for. But Sherry, I don't know if you as the teacher can go in and add their own labels. I feel like you might not be able to do it because it sort of wants the students to be able to customize how they want to label it themselves.
Okay.
But I know that, yeah, you can dump a bunch of things in their library and say, you guys go through this and label 3 that you would want to use for this project. You know, you could potentially put in 10 articles and let them pick 3. But, you know, I think you just kind of have to be a little creative with how you want to do that.
Well, that's interesting, Jonathan. So I wonder if you can create assignment folders. Maybe that's...
Yeah, the folder thing is interesting because I don't know, like I think they almost view the library as, you know, you're seeing all those thumbnails, but I don't know, and I don't think off the top of my head there's a way to like drag and drop those into folders from a student point of view. But that's something I would dig into a little bit. I'll take a look, you know, later and see if that's actually an option. That might be a good one to suggest to them if they don't have it as an option, but yeah.
Because I can drag and drop my assignments into my folders.
Right. I just don't know if kids can actually make their own. And when I go on the page, it doesn't seem like they can exactly do that, but
right.
Yeah. I know we're coming up on 11 o'clock in about 15 minutes, so I just want to be respectful of everyone who doesn't have Actively Learn yet. Is there any questions, or is there anything you'd like to see or know about for even just like the initial setup or things like that? And obviously, of course, please, if this is something that you're like, hey, I would love to check this out, you know, we can do you can put in a tech request, and I'll work with you individually and get this all set up with you, just so you feel comfortable that everything's up and running. We can do like an individual Google Meet if it's a bigger question that, you know, is more than like a quick answer from me here. So I'm just wondering, Patty or Barb or Nikki, if there's any.
Yeah, I just need to explore it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, I would start there. Just like, you know, when you get into it, just check out some of the content that's available. I can't tell you how much good stuff is up there, and it is updated regularly. We didn't really show you, but maybe I think maybe Sherry showed you briefly. But just so you can see this, again, if you're an Ed Puzzle fan, I'm just going to.
That's the other thing I want to learn.
Yeah. So, and that's certainly something that, you know, we can take out as well. But when you go to content and Actively Learn, you can sort by, when we go to genres, the videos. So there is a huge video library in all of these. You know, they're pulling from Rain Pop over here. They're pulling from a ton of different sources, but like, let's just go over here to Macbeth for a second, why you should read Macbeth. If I click on this, this is essentially an Ed puzzle that they pulled from a TED Ed video. And if I assign this to students up here, when they're watching the video, it's going to stop them.
He found their annals.
I'll just pause that for a sec. It's going to stop them. It's got the standard. It's got the questions, the explanation, and then it's going to work just like an Ed puzzle video. But I have the ability, like, again, it's already one that's made for you, but I do have the ability to customize this and insert my own questions and delete these questions if I don't like them. So
and the real trick, the only thing I haven't been able to do, and Jonathan, maybe you can help me with this, is I haven't been able to move the questions. So, you know, in Edpuzzle, you can move the questions.
Yep.
I cannot move these. And if your last question must be at least 4 to 5 seconds before the end. If it's at the end, the students can't answer it. So I've had to delete that question and enter it earlier. So Jonathan, do you know how to move those questions?
So I'm going to go up here to edit for a second, and
if you go to options.
Yep, that's where I thought it was.
It should say move question, but it doesn't.
I'm wondering if we can drag it.
I tried.
Yeah, that's interesting. So,
I Googled it and it said it should say move question.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that either.
And you even have the premium. So you
it's not like we're being restricted for that. I'm gonna write that down. That's a good one. I'll take a look and I'll email you guys an answer if I can figure that out. But I'm sure there's a way to do that pretty easily. I mean, off the top of my head, obviously we can delete or copy this question, but it feels like there should be an easier way to just simply drag and move. I wonder if I go out of this real quick.
It's the end of the play. Beth.
If I can just grab off of here now, it doesn't seem like that. Yeah, that's a great question. I'll take a look for sure. I would be shocked if there's not a simple enough way to do that. But again, it's just the fact that there are the video resources in there. You know, again, if you use Edpuzzle, it's built in Edpuzzle. If you don't use Edpuzzle, this is Edpuzzle in a nutshell, and it's already in Actively Learn, so it's in one place. So,
I'm sorry, I missed the question. What was the question?
We were just looking at how to since it all automatically embeds certain questions in the videos, Lisa, Sherry was asking, is there a way to drag the question and move it? So typically the questions are put in that spot because they usually follow whatever information you want. So they're usually placed in the right spot. But if for some reason it was like more of a big idea question that you would want at the end, we were just trying to figure out if there was an easy way to drag and move those.
And the problem, and well, here's kind of a good thing and a bad thing. The Actively Learn is the one that's putting them at the very end, but yet they tell you not to do that. It's the only negative I've found in this whole thing. But the other really cool thing is, you know how in Edpuzzle, once you assign an Edpuzzle and a student says there's a mistake in this question or something, and you can't go back and fix it?
Yes.
In Actively Learn, woohoo, you can go back and fix it.
Yeah.
Live.
Yeah, it's very Google Doc-like in that sense that even if you assign something to the kids, if you go back in and even want to include different directions, like I know that, you know, one time I assigned an article and it was something where I was getting responses from the kids that were way too minimal. And I was like, oh man, I was really expecting like a paragraph response. So, you know, I had 2 kids go in, and before anybody else did it, I went back in and just added like, please respond in a minimum of 5 sentences. And include at least 1 quote, and then I was able to just tell those 2 kids, hey, please go back and do this, but then the rest of the kids, they just saw those directions live. So it is nice that you can kind of go back in and make those edits, and they're going to pop up for the kids. So
I'm telling you, Jonathan, what did I call you 2 weeks ago saying, I got to learn this? And he walked me through it, and my students really like it. They like that I create the hyperdoc that kind of walks them through it, and I'm happy to share hyperdoc with Jonathan, and you can use that.
I think, you know, every year I would always, and especially even this year when I pushed into a couple classes and I demoed it with some teachers, you know, that were just trying it out. But I always would ask the kids at the end of the class, like, would you prefer the packet with the questions at the end, or do you prefer this format? And it's usually like 99.99 students are saying like, this is great because it forces me. The things that I think kids like is that it forces them to slow down. The fact that it stops them at the question. They know that, okay, I'm at a question. I should be able to scroll back up and reread so I don't get to the end of the article and say, I have no idea. The fact that they can highlight any question and get the definition. They can take notes directly in it. It links them to other resources. Like it's, there is a feature too that students can highlight the whole thing and have it read aloud to them. So if you have any kids with IEPs that do need that read aloud feature, I know Lisa Gleason emailed me the other day, and this is a good note to probably throw in. Immersive Reader, which we shared with you guys, I think either earlier this year. It's a great extension for kids that need text read aloud. It doesn't work on Actively Learn's site because Actively Learn is sort of a living, breathing thing to some degree, but you don't need Immersive Reader because kids can just highlight and say, read me this entire article out loud. So there is that feature in there if you have any kids with IEPs that do need that feature utilized.
And you can change the Lexile. You can. I can't say enough about this. Thanks for everything you've done, Jonathan.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate you sharing that too, Sherry, because it makes me so happy when I see other teachers using it, because this is one of those tools that I know even when Shelly and I talked about using these office hours to share out a couple, I was like, this is one I go to bat for all day because I know I used it in my classroom for years, and it doesn't make your life harder as a teacher. I found it made life easier. There's so many good resources. Again, Barb, I know in 7th grade, there are so many short stories, poems that we teach that are already in Actively Learn, that already have the questions embedded, that have multimedia connections. They have text sets. I know when we do like civil rights, when we did Roll of Thunder, I know in 8th grade when we did Raisin in the Sun, there's like multiple text sets that are like 6-part series that you could do one per week while you're doing the unit that just sync up so well with it. So yeah, it's great. I love it. So
good.
It's everything all under one roof, and it's a reliable source. Even its links are really good. So when you have students that'll, you say find 5 articles, this gives you the articles. You can either put them in teacher notes or the links that are already in the articles. They're all either .orgs, .edus. They're legitimate good sites.
Can I just share one thing? When it worked for the one class that it did allow the kids to come right into, it actually did export those grades automatically in, like it grades it, except for the open-ended, but it automatically exports when I'm done grading into the Google Classroom, which was a great feature when you think about the ease of grading and how quickly that is. And my big question would be, once you have the kids in it, like if I was in school, I would be there to assist in that process of getting them in and seeing it. But once they're in, I would think like I should be able to put the link, and it literally says sync with Google Classroom, and it was doing it beautifully for my one class. So it is a frustration to me. I'd like to delve into that. Or if you're going to contact Actively Learn, say this is one of the areas where there's a glitch, and is it a possibility that we fix the glitch? If it's student-based and it's from that incognito screen, then in Sherry's document, if I can borrow that, and I would put in there, make sure you're on the Google for Warwick email when you're doing this, and it should work seamlessly. But the other thing that I've noticed too is that for me as a teacher, because I signed in using my Warwick account, it just brings up my Google email. I click on it, I go right in, and it is very quick and seamless once you're utilizing it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that I can't explain to you how many times we get tech requests or we get, issues where the student's like, oh, my student says they can't access this. And like, honestly, 90% of the time, it's because kids are on their own Gmail. They're not, and they don't realize it. So, and sometimes that happens to us even at school. If you sometimes are accidentally switched from your Warwick account to like a personal Gmail account, you're like, oh, why can't I find this stuff? So that's probably the #1 reason why, unfortunately, even when we put stuff in directions like, make sure you're not on your Gmail, the kids didn't read the directions. So they might not see that. But no, Lisa, I have that on my list as well as the video piece. So I will say something to Actively Learn about that. But I would also still just continue to preface that I know I got frustrated with it and when I started doing it in like 2017. So that's why I went to the whole, I'm just giving the kids the Actively Learn link. The grading thing is really cool because I actually didn't realize that it automatically would import the grades into Google Classroom for you.
I'm sorry, I've got to run. Thank you, everybody. It was good seeing everyone.
Thank you so much.
You're giving me hope that I can do this.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. I have 2 meetings right now.
Please, thank you so much for coming, Pat. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Yep.
Yeah.
I killed the room, Jonathan.
Come on, Lisa.
But if you want, I could share my screen and show you this, John.
Yeah, I would love to see. So, Nikki, yeah, if you have to bail, yeah, I'd love to see just because I'm curious. So, yeah.
So when I'm on my grades, see how it says I kept going to Gradebook, and then it goes export grades, but also sync with grades with Google Classroom. I can resync because I've already done this assignment, but I kind of stopped after this first assignment because as great as it was, the kids weren't getting in, and that's what I would like to do. But when it syncs, it'll go literally. I click on the assignment I want to sync, I hit submit, and voila, it'll be in my Google Classroom automatically. And it said it syncs perfectly because I'm in period 4 every time. It did period 4 beautifully.
Wow.
But if I go to period 5 and I shared them all at the same time and I sync, are you seeing this? I just realized.
Yeah, well, so I guess I'm curious how.
What happens with period 5? It says no actively learned assignment. So somewhere it's telling me I didn't link it correctly, and I went back and tried to do it. So the issue for me might be, and I had period 6 do it. So for some reason it attributed to 1 when I was selecting all 5. So
Right.
my issue may be if I actually link it, I may have to go to each class and do it. Even though the assignment's there, the kids are able to do it, but I had kids that could not get in. And
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's so yeah, I mean obviously that if it works that looks amazing. It does look like there's basically just like it's somehow period 5 and period 6 they don't have that syncing occurring between those. Let me dig into that one too, Lisa, because again, I was frustrated with it before where I told my students before, I'm not going to grade it in Actively Learn and then show you your grades in Classroom and then show you your grades in the grade book. I would often just say to them, I'm going to basically go directly from Actively Learn grading to the grade book because kids can see their grades in Actively Learn as well. But I also get if you're assigning it in Google Classroom and that's where they're looking to see did they complete it, that makes perfect sense if it can sync like that. So let me look because, yeah, there's clearly just that. I mean, that's what's happening is it's not recognizing that period 5 is synced up with the other one. So,
and if I can be real honest with you, for a teacher, when I can go here and now I can go to this here and I can download, upload right in, that's in, and it's saving me a lot of time. Were you typing in all the grades? Because that would be my big thing.
No, you mean from Actively Learn or from Google Classroom?
Once it's in Google Classroom, I can download and upload. If I export the grades, are you saying to me that's how you did it, where you exported and then you upload it to your grade?
Yeah, I was just exporting them as CSV files directly from Actively Learn and then putting them in the grade book.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I just basically would, I would tell the kids, like, you can either look in the grade book or look on Actively Learn. That's your grade. So if I would make, an assignment 12, 13 points or something like that, they would see in Actively Learn how many points they got, and they would see it in the grade book. But if they went to Google Classroom, they wouldn't. However, if the sync thing worked properly, it's not a big deal to click that button so the kids can see it in Google Classroom too. I just, like I said, I was having issues too with it syncing. So that's something that now maybe, the fact that they didn't have that button there when I was trying it a couple years ago. So that would be something that if I'm going to reach out to them anyway, maybe I can ask for a couple of tips on how to actually link up the classrooms with that as well. So I'll absolutely add that.
For the kids, when they're on here, I have taught my kids to hit the view all button. And for a kid, it literally, instead of showing what I'm seeing as a teacher, it'll literally show them each assignment with the grade and that is turned in. So that's a great way for them to check. So I was putting things there because then they have a way to basically be able to check that. It doesn't have to be there, but then for the kids, it's more, you got this site, you got that site. Instead of a one-stop, this is where you can get the link. You know what I mean?
That makes so much sense. Yeah, no, I love that view that you have there and directing kids to, as long as the teacher's consistent, like you are with putting those in there, I think that is a great place to be able to just see immediately, did you have it or didn't you have it there? So yeah, no, as long as the sync piece works, I love that. So it's just a matter of getting that to sync up pretty well.
Now that I know, I could have just exported grades, download, uploads.
It's one of those you learn kind of deal, but it's also, I don't think there's one perfect way to do it. I think it's whatever way works for you, but also that, as long as your kids are on the same page as well, and whatever causes the least amount of headache for everybody, I think is always a win. So yeah.
When you get a new grade, it literally puts a little dot next to that class, so you have new things to grade in there. So you just have to double check there. But if it's something you don't have open-ended, it was populating directly in the Google Classroom, which was nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I do have to go because my daughter's making some noise over here, and I told her I'd be an hour before I came back out. But thank you both so much for stopping in and sharing your wisdom and asking questions and things like that. I'll post the video into that doc, but Nikki especially, since if you're messing around with it, if you ever want to sit down for 20 and set everything up, we can do that together if you need any help. Or if you do it yourself and you run into any issues, just let me know and we'll make it happen.
I'm going to use my Friday to see if I can work something up for next week. So
awesome. Awesome.
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
So
Oh, happy Cinco de Mayo. Thanks.
oh, yeah. Oh, I miss Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo on Taco Tuesday, and there's no Corona to buy.
Oh, goodness. Oh, my God.
It's the end of the world.
It really is. Either way, you've just given me a reason to celebrate tonight, so thank you, Nick. That's awesome.
Start early.
Awesome. See you guys. Take care.
Yeah.